Welcome back, lucky viewer, to another YouTube video starring your host, Just My Luck. Today, we've gone over the Season 1 patch notes coming out today, August 15th, 2022. So, starting off at the top, General Morty will be arriving on 8/23, and he will be our first Plumbus-wielding character. So, super excited for Morty, but more excited for Rick to come out. You already know who it is. The patch will come in two parts. The first will be on August 15th, and the second will come shortly afterwards, hopefully in the next few days. So this is just the beginning of this huge patch that they're doing to pretty much flip the game on its head. But new character rotation from 8/15 to 8/30, so the end of August, is Arya, Batman, LeBron, and Steven. So I'm waiting to see what the community thinks about these characters. I don't play any of these characters. I've only ever played against them. And I feel like Arya needed some buffs, but she seemed pretty strong every time I fought her. Steven needs some huge buffs, so we'll see if he got any buffs. LeBron, I don't know. He's up in the air. I feel like they could change a lot of him. Batman though, he's pretty aggressive, I would say, and I feel like changing some of his stuff wouldn't hurt either, but needless to say, free rotation, characters now have an icons. The characters select to identify them so that when you're in the character select, you know which characters are free and which characters you already own. Battle Pass XP match rewards increased to 10 for wins and 5 for losses, up from 5 for wins and 3 for losses. So that's going to help grinding out the Battle Pass for casual players a little bit easier. Disabled class-based Battle Pass missions other than for tank. Developer notes, since players might not have access to fighters in specific classes other than tank, thanks to Wonder Woman, we felt like relying on rerolls was not a reliable enough method to work around those missions. Okay, so it's going to be easier to do those class-based missions since they're going to be doing tanks mostly, since everyone should have Wonder Woman for completing the tutorial for the game. Lowered the requirements for a number of seasonal missions. Ring out a player from the top of the map 50 times. Previously was 75. Ring out a player from the side. So they did the top, side, and bottom, reduced it down to 50, and previously it was 75. And then assists they reduced also down to 50 when it was previously 125. Alright, on to the actual patch notes itself. I feel like this was just general information for everyone to know. Actual patch notes, here we go. So general perk number 1, clear the air. They increase the consistency of the perk effect. We are aware of the inconsistencies in this perk's interaction with Velma's speech bubbles and Batman's batarang. We will address these interactions in a future patch. So they increase the consistency of clear the air. Make it Reindog. Projectile speed is now properly applied to thrown items. So now Make it Reindog will apply to thrown items. Painted target. Fixed an issue where projectiles weren't applying bonus damage. Interesting. I didn't know that was an issue, but hey. Retaliation ready. Reduced unstacked gray health from 3 for 3 seconds to 1 HP for 3 seconds. So they reduced stacked gray health from 4 HP to 3 seconds and 2 HP to 3 seconds. So that's kind of a nerf for retaliation ready, and I think that's going to be for a lot of projectile based people like LeBron James, Tom and Jerry, maybe even Iron Giant, even though he doesn't have a whole lot of projectiles. So, School Me Once increased the consistency of projectile block spawn. Notably, getting hit with Jerry will not spawn as a projectile block buff, which is interesting because I always thought that Jerry was a projectile, but I guess that he doesn't. But everything else that Tom and Jerry throw is a projectile, which will kick School Me Once, but they did increase the consistency of projectile block spawn on that one. Slippery when faint fixed an issue where evade distance was not increased on hit cancels. Interesting. I actually feel like I did run into this a couple times because I did try Slippery when faint a few times, and I feel like I didn't really get that extra distance when using the perk. But hey. Snowball effect fixed an issue where projectiles weren't applying bonus damage. So now when you use snowball effect on characters like Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, LeBron James, snowball effect will actually apply to your projectiles. Static electricity, increased consistency on projectile electrical damage application. Notable thrown items will now apply electricity, which is pretty cool. I might actually try that out on Tom and Jerry. So now that we can actually use this, because I felt like I did try static electricity one time on Tom and Jerry, and I didn't ever proc it, and I thought that was just me, but apparently it was a bug. So I'm glad that they fixed that. Gameplay and systems. Ice debuff, movement speed, slow at 1 stack is reduced from 20% to 15%. Pretty nice, not gonna lie. That slow was pretty crazy, especially when you only had 1 stack of ice debuff. Slow now scales literally with each stack of ice buff, which I felt like what it should have done. Removed a bug where fighters affected by ice debuff took additional knockback. Interesting, I didn't know that was a problem, but hey, there we go, cool. Ability cooldowns, fixed a bug where cooldowns would not trigger properly if you use near an ally Jake. Okay. Gameplay modes, FFA, fixed a bug Fixed a bug where pop-up text would display the incorrect point value. Okay. They changed the UI. The announcer pack, you can now preview announcer packs before actually unlocking them, which is nice. Gonna save some people some money and some trouble, rather than just going, oh, I want to buy this character, and I don't like how they sound. Cool. Tutorials, various bug fixes, fix the tutorials for stage hazards to toggle in and off game modes. Down spike tutorial, that is requires actually spike rather than any aerial attack. Reindog tether step of the intro tutorial no longer counters if you pull an ally in after they have been wrung out. Fix the Shaggy falling off the map during the aerial combat tutorial demo, and added a wall to the second step of the knockback influence tutorial. So now I think people are going to actually be able to beat that, because I actually had trouble beating that too, because there was those weird way you had to do it where you had to like go to a separate screen if you were on console or even PC just to beat this tutorial. So I now think that you're gonna be able to do that now, is beat it. Glossary and terms, they added some new terms, added wall fatigue to the glossary, God, can't speak. New terms, added wall fatigue to the glossary, which is where if you're on the wall too long, you will actually start to fall and not be able to grab the wall. Added the term block, hazard, and wipe to the glossary and updated move list accordingly. Okay. And on to what everyone is waiting for in the video. Here we go. Character changes. Starting off at the top, we got a legend here, so we know that what's buffed, what's nerfed, and what's changed. So let's get into these. All right. So for Arya, the goal of these changes was to make Arya's combos to be more consistent and successful at lower skill levels. They buffed the air, ground, up special. Hitting a fighter will now more accurately launch them to an angle to allow follow-ups for Arya. So it looks like Arya got buffed. That's kind of crazy. I thought she was pretty strong already, so getting her buffed is going to make her, I think, even more of a threat on the field. And they said they're going to make her combos even more consistent, but I didn't ever see a problem with her consistency with combos, so I now think she's going to be pretty far up there on the tier list, in my opinion. But hey, air ground special got buffed. Air up attack. The first hit will now more accurately combo into the second hit. Neutral air attack now has earlier branching on hit. They buffed the ground side attack. Arya will retain velocity on the first hit of the side attack. They buffed the ground down attack, which now has slightly earlier dodge branching. They changed the air ground neutral special, fixed a bug where Arya could not copy over capsule hitboxes on her normal neutral attacks when stealing a fighter's face. So what they actually changed was set Arya's hurt box to match her victim's hurt box when she is disguised as them. Fixed a bug where Arya's top UI would be offset incorrectly when she steals a face. Fixed a bug where Arya's disguise attack hitbox could get disconnected. Fixed a bug where Arya's original hitboxes would be usable during disguise attacks. Fixed a bug where the hitboxes from Arya's disguise would stay active during her normal attacks. So they changed her face stealing a lot. Apparently there's a bunch of bugs with her hitboxes getting messed around with. And on the topic of hitboxes, the devs already said that they're going to be coming out with a huge hitbox, hurtbox update in the future, so keep an eye out for that. So we got Batman. The air ground side special fixed a bug where Batman would overshoot his grapple designation in the fighter if the fighter he was grappled to dodged. So what would happen is if Batman actually grappled you and you dodged, he would continue going and fly off, which you could actually use to kill Batman, and apparently they changed that to where he doesn't do that anymore. Increase the overshooting distance when grappling to an ally. Fixed Batman grapple failing at short distances under high latency. Okay. They nerfed the ground side attack. First hit added 3 frames of whiff recovery, so now you can easily punish that. They nerfed the air ground neutral attack, which is going to be coming in patch 2, but the Batarang pickup will now return 9.5 of its cooldown, 9.5 seconds of its cooldown, down from 11.5 seconds. So this change helps create a window from when the Batarang is used for the opponent to react with perk like CoffeeZilla, causing this cooldown to be even shorter. We felt the change was necessary to create counterplay against the Batarang, which is pretty fair. I felt like the Batarang on Batman was used pretty often, and you could easily get full stacks of weakness with it, especially with his signature perk. Moving on to Bugs Bunny. So Bugs Bunny is a bit too safe in everything he does. Yeah, I could see that. We've given him some additional whiff punish windows to help address this. Okay, so they nerfed Bugs Bunny. Changed air up special, fixed an exploit where bugs could launch. Okay, so they changed the air up special and side special where you can spawn 2 rockets. So now you can only spawn 1 rocket all around, which is pretty good. I've seen that exploit used a couple times against me. And I've always wondered how people did it, but it doesn't matter now because it is gone. They nerfed the air ground neutral special. Fixed an exploit where bugs could spawn multiple safes without triggering his cooldown. That's kind of crazy. And they also nerfed the safe HP and reduced it from 16 to 14 so enemies can destroy it easier. They changed the air down special. Bugs' previous tunnels will now disappear when creating new tunnels. I didn't know that was a bug, but apparently it is. So they nerfed the air up attack, the air side attack, and the air neutral attack. The air up attack was his bats, the air side attack was his drop kick, and the air neutral attack was his helicopter spin. And they added 4 frames of whiff recovery for the up and 5 and 5 for the side and neutral, which means that as an opponent, if you see a Bugs Bunny whiff any of these moves, you could be easily able to punish them. Ground down attack, they nerfed it. Pi max lifetime set to 8 seconds from infinite. So now, oh, and the Pi no longer slows. Ooh, that's interesting. I thought the slow was a pretty good applicate, but hey. So now you can't hold on to a Pi for all time. You have to use it in at least 8 seconds. And as everyone wanted Finn to be changed so much, thank God, fighting against Finn felt too difficult as Finn felt a bit too safe and could throw out attacks without much fear of a punish due to how quickly he recovered. Hit Hurtbox foundational updates are coming soon, but will not be in this patch. So hopefully there's going to be a hit Hurtbox update, like I already said, that's going to be coming out, and it's going to make the game even cleaner and more crisp when it comes to who gets move priority over everyone else, because I felt like Finn had a lot of move priority in everything he did, and the hitboxes on Finn are crazy ridiculous. So they nerfed his passive. Attacks affected by attack decay no longer spawn coin, so that punishes people spamming with moves. So any attack that is affected by attack decay no longer gives you coin, and Finn now spawns with 100 gold instead of 200 gold. They did buff his air down special, fixed an issue where the gem required 200 gold to spawn, but now only cost 100 to spawn, and gem now requires and costs 100. So originally the gem cost 200, but they fixed it, so now it only costs 100 to spawn and 100 to use. They nerfed his air side special, added additional whiff recovery. Very nice. Thankfully, they did nerf the ground air up special, reducing the strength of the vacuum effect on the backpack, which was kind of ridiculous. Weaker hits on the backpack will no longer overwrite stronger knockbacks from other attacks. Whiffing with all hits will drop a coin. Added whiff recovery. They didn't tell us how many frames. They just added whiff recovery. Hitboxes should better match the attack. Not perfect until our planned hurt hitbox system overhaul, which again addresses the hurt hitbox update that I announced a couple times already that they're going to be coming out with. They nerfed his air side attack, reducing active frames to diminish Finn's ability to hit fighters behind him. Ground down attack, the distance Finn covers with his attack now scales with how long the attack is charged. They nerfed the ground side attack, increased whiff recovery for the first hit, but they did buff on the house perk, which is one of his signature perks, fixed an issue where Finn still spent gold on gems spawned by the perk, slightly reduced the launch speed of gems spawned by the perk. This should fix issues that arose when this perk was combined with Make It Reindog. Okay, so 2 buffs, the air down special, and so his gems got buffed. Which is a lot of the time when a Finn uses his gems, he's a lot better than most of the other Finns. These next 2 didn't get a whole lot of changes. Garnet and Harley. Starting with Garnet, we got she got a slight buff, it looks like, to her air ground neutral special and her air neutral attack. So her air ground neutral special, strong activation starts earlier. Okay, so now she gets almost, oh dang, her activation is now cut in half on her air ground neutral special in frames. They changed her air ground special, fixed a bug where Garnet would be stopped by Iron Giant's collision when she moves with her down special. Interesting. Air neutral attack, slightly higher base knockback. Okay. Harley, looks like they changed the stuffy bat. Harley's bomb VFX shrunk to better match the explosion radius. And they also increased her rate from 42 to 44, which means that she's going to be slightly harder to knock out, but not much. Let me know what you guys think about that, Harley mains. Ooh, looks like Iron Giant got nerfed and changed a whole bunch. So this is going to be another big set of nerfs and changes that we're going to be reading. So VFX, Global Fighter VFX, now better matches Iron Giant's size without making the screen too busy. Notably, adjustments include projectile block buff, speed boost buff, and Stephen Bubble debuff. So that means that when playing an Iron Giant, it's not going to be as chaotic on the screen when he gets buffs, debuffs, when he gets that projectile block buff, that window. They did nerf his air ground down special, fixed an issue where VFX trails would persist and fill up the screen. Yep, I've ran into that a couple times, so I'm glad they fixed that. Can no longer use cannonball attacks out of air special, which is his butt slam. So you can no longer do that out of air specials. Knockback angle change to send fighters more horizontally and away from Iron Giant rather than being sent up. Fixed issues that allowed for infinitely bouncing an enemy near the ground. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Never did run into that, thankfully, but yeah, that's kind of crazy. Air ground neutral special, gray health from So the air ground neutral special, gray health from activation reduced from 2, plus the number of bolts HP for 5 seconds to number of bolts HP for 3 seconds. So it looks like your bolts don't last as long, is what I'm reading from that. Gray health from ally overlap reduced from 5 HP to 5 seconds to 3 HP for 3 seconds. They changed the ground forward special. Iron Giant grabs are correctly blocked by incompatible states. Okay. They nerfed the air up attack and the air neutral attack, so the air up attack can no longer hit the same target multiple times. Okay. Air neutral attack, final hit, knockback, angle change to send fighters more horizontally and away from Iron Giant rather than being sent up, and increased knockback scaling. They nerfed the ground up attack, gray health from scrap reduced from 3 HP for 5 seconds to 2 HP for 3 seconds. Allies that consume scrap will overwrite any existing gray health they have for consuming scrap. So you can't stack gray health with Iron Giant anymore, it seems. They changed the ground forward attack, fixed attack decay, not triggering for all parts of forward attack combo. Okay. Which is his like 3-hit car smash, butt smash combo. Ground down attack, gray health from art reduced from 10 HP to 10 seconds to 6 HP for 3 seconds. Jake, air down attack, removed instant cancel out of attack to prevent skateboard infinites, no longer bounces off allies. Okay, so Jake got kinda nerfed. Ground up attack, added additional whiff recovery, slightly later charge cancel window to make it a bit more committable. So while using your ground up attack, which is his axe, you have to use it more consistently with timing rather than just being able to throw it out. Alright, so for LeBron players, we got the air ground side special change. LeBron's solo dunk no longer spawns the shockwave on the ground. You instead have to use the alley-oop teleport version of LeBron's dunk, which does spawn the shockwave and will launch fighters into the shockwave, and the shockwave will launch fighters into the final hit, which applies a weakened debuff. The solo dunk knockback and hit box size are increased. Fixed a bug where LeBron could dunk himself into the sky. They changed his ground air special with no ball, adjusted it to prevent ball slam. They buffed his air side attack and his air neutral attack. Air side attack branches earlier on hit, fixed for hitbox hitting behind him too much. Air neutral attack branches earlier on hit to increase combo potential, fixed for ball neutral air branching into no ball neutral air. They buffed his ground side attack and his ground down attack. Removed shared attack delay from side attack and down attack. That's a pretty big buff. Okay. It's more like a bug fix more than anything, but hey. Ground side attack, 3-hit combo hits more consistently. They changed his ground neutral attack, fixed angle of attack. They changed his basketball itself, fixed some team color issues that would occur when reflecting LeBron basketball. Fixed an issue where LeBron could be struck attacking without his ball while visibly holding his ball. Fixed an issue where LeBron could be stuck attacking without his ball while visually holding his ball. They changed his hot hands perk, which when an ally catches a no-looks pass while the hot hands perk is equipped, the basketball pass buff would emit flames to let allies know they will throw an ignited basketball. Okay, that's pretty cool. So now when he does have the no hands perk and he passes you a no-look pass, you're actually going to be able to know when the basketball's on fire and when to throw it. Next is Reindog, which got mostly buffed, kind of nerfed, not really. So Reindog mains, let me know how you're feeling up in the chat. They buffed his air up special, removed hit pause on ally that threw Reindog when Reindog connects in ball form. They nerfed his air ground neutral special, which increased the cooldown from 13 seconds to 14 seconds, which doesn't seem that much. So for his air up attack, they buffed it and hitbox size is increased. So a slight buff for Reindog. Shaggy, another one I know a lot of people wanted to get nerfed, so it looks like he mostly did get nerfed, especially with his air side special and his ground side special. So Shaggy's side special felt a little too unpunishable, so we've added a bit of whiff recovery. Rage air side special. Recovery increased by 2 frames. Now better matches Rage ground special. They addressed an issue where Shaggy could perform 2 Rage specials. Yeah, I've noticed that a lot. They buffed his Rage Ground special. Shaggy's Shockwave will launch fighters into a final hit that applies Weaken debuff. They nerfed once again his Ground Air Side special, which adds 4 additional frames of whiff recovery. So Shaggy mains won't be able to use that side special as much or throw it out willy-nilly without being punished. Next is Steven. Looks like he got a slight nerf to his Ground Down special. Watermelon Steven ability cooldown now begins when Watermelon Steven is wrung out. Fixed a bug where Watermelon Steven could spawn inside ceilings and be stuck. Okay, so now instead of winning when you use your Watermelon Steven, you have to wait until your Watermelon Steven dies before you can try and spawn another one. But even then, when he gets wrung out, you still have to wait for the cooldown to go down. They changed his air neutral attack. No longer will animation hitch. Okay. I don't really know what that means, but okay. They changed his VO and SFX, fixed an issue where Steven's intro voice-over lines failed to play. Taunt fixed an issue where Steven could only perform his up taunt. Interesting. So, not a whole lot of changes. Steven's pretty much the same. That's a pretty big change to the Watermelon Steven perk, though. So, I'm interested to see how Steven players get around that. A bunch of nerfs to Superman. So his ground neutral attack, his ground up attack, and his ground up special all got additional whiff recovery. So you're going to be able to punish Superman a lot. Ooh, Taz. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but I recently picked up Taz, and it looks like he got changed a bunch too. So this is the start of our tornado changes for Taz. We will be continuing to monitor the tornado for extra scrutiny in case additional changes are needed. So first, Chicken debuff. Fixed a bug where transformed fighters could receive buffs that would not appear visually when they return to their normal form. They nerfed the chicken duration from 10 seconds to 8, so 2 less seconds than it originally was. But they did buff the chicken size, so now they have increased size of the chicken, so it's easier for Taz to actually be able to hit the chicken rather than people being able to just jump over him. Buffed an air ground down special, which is down special. They did buff his air ground down special, which is his little leftovers thing, like where he shoots out a eaten up apple. Adjusted projectile movement direction of Taz spit projectiles to be more forward and less of a lob. When Taz spits a projectile back at a fighter, the projectile will maintain its original speed. That's a pretty big buff. Not gonna lie. Air ground neutral special. His neutral special is his bites, his eating. If Taz eats a projectile that can't be spit back out, he will refresh a count of his apple core ability, which is his air ground special. So if he eats a projectile, you're going to get more of your apple cores back, so you're going to be able to use those a lot more consistently if you can't spit the projectile back out. Increased size of his collision for Taz eating projectiles on his neutral special. Also made it possible to eat projectiles a few frames earlier, so it's easier to eat them. Taz deals 1 stack of weakened debuff every time he chews an enemy. That's kind of crazy, not gonna lie. Fixed a bug that allowed for ground movement after eating an enemy fighter. They nerfed his air ground up special, which is his dog pile. Damage reduced from 10 to 9, and base knockback reduced from 1500 to 1350. So slightly decreased the knockback on it, and the damage is pretty much the same. Fixed a bug where enemy fighters could become invulnerable to fight Cloud after dodging it. They changed his air ground side special, which is his tornado. They now made it a cooldown move with a 7-second cooldown. While the cooldown is active, side special is a weaker version of tornado. Full power tornado has a 1.5 second duration. That's crazy. And receives 1 additional second duration after passing an ally. On cooldown, Tornado has a 0.25 second duration and does not gain additional duration by passing an ally. So that's a pretty big change to his Tornado ability. It's now a cooldown. It's now a cooldown, which I feel like is what they should do to Shaggy's side special, is make it a cooldown move. So that's pretty interesting. That means that CoffeeZilla for Taz is going to be even more viable. Ground up attack, they increased, well, buffed. Now a 2-hit attack, the Harley hit combos into the sandwich clap. So now if you're on the ground and you use your sandwich clap, him throwing his hands up is a hit, and then him actually clapping them together is a hit. So now it's a 2-hit combo, meaning that it's gonna, if you can charge it all the way up, it's gonna stack 6 times. Well, maybe 5 times. Because when you fully charge it, it applies 4 stacks. But if the first hit counts as a hit, then that's 5 stacks right there. A lot of his charged up attacks apply a lot of his chicken debuff. Some changes to my man Tom and Jerry. Here we go. So they buffed Dynamite, which now applies projectile perk effects like that's Flammable Dock and the electricity one, which now affects projectiles, and the ice debuff as well. They changed his air normal attacks, fixed a bug that would prevent Tom and Jerry from using normal attacks when air special limit has been reached. That's a big change. I'm so glad they got rid of that. That was a huge bug, and I'm glad that they fixed that. So now that when you use your specials while getting launched to recover, you can still recover rather than just having to accept the fact that you were going to die. So up air special, they nerfed, fixed an issue where Jerry could continue to have active hit frames when falling from the rocket. Really? Wow, that's a pretty big nerf. Because you could use Jerry, like if you were in the air, so when you're in the air and you use your up special with Tom and Jerry, you kick Jerry at an angle that you're facing. It's an up and then angle. And then you could use Jerry to hit people while he was falling, and I thought that was how it was supposed to be intended, but apparently it's not. Because you could use him to spike, but you can't do that anymore. That's crazy. That's kind of a crazy nerf, not gonna lie. That's a bigger nerf than most people would think. Okay. Last two, Velma and Wonder Woman. So Velma looks like she got nerfed so bad. That's just from a glance from all these minuses. Airside special reduced move distance. The distance this traveled before gave Velma additional recovery that wasn't intended. They nerfed the air up special, reduced weakened stacks from 3 to 2. That's not a lot. Will no longer chain into air down attack as easily to prevent easily application of damage. Interesting. I'm not a Velma main, so Velma mains, let me know what you think about this. They nerfed the ground side special, reduced gray health from 12 HP for 4 seconds to 6 HP for 3 seconds. They nerfed the air down attack, which they increased the recovery of. They also nerfed the air side attack, which they also increased the recovery of. Ground air neutral attack, fixed issues when word bubbles would go through Bugs' tunnels, reduced ammo count from 4 to 3, and reduced ammo return from 11 to 10. Okay. They also decreased her weight from 63 to 60, meaning that she's going to be slightly easier to launch, not a whole lot more. And then finally, they nerfed the Knowledge is Power perk, which reduced gray health, which now reduced gray health from 7 HP for 5 seconds to 3 HP for 3 seconds. That's a pretty big nerf on Knowledge is Power. Lastly, Wonder Woman. Looks like she got buffed. Ground to air neutral special lowered cooldown from 13 seconds to 12 seconds. Okay. Ground side special projectile shield comes out earlier to allow her to better react to incoming projectiles. Interesting. They changed air up attack. Hurt box should be better to match the animation. Increased the weight of her for almost 11 points, meaning that she is going to be a lot harder to launch now, Wonder Woman. She is a tank character, but I always found her to be one of the easiest tank characters to kill, but it seems like she's going to be a little bit harder to launch now. They also changed the Shield of Athena signature perk. Adjusted scale of projectile shield for Shield of Athena signature perk to cover an edge case. An edge case where projectiles would pass above it during a dodge. Alright guys, so that's all the patch notes for Season 1. I hope you guys like what you saw. Leave a like and a comment down below telling me what's your favorite character to play, like who's your main. Did you like the changes of Season 1? Do you hate the changes of Season 1? What would you have chosen to change for Season 1? And just let me know all that down in the comments below. My name is Just My Luck. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. And like I always say, stay lucky, friends. Peace. I'm out.